I'm just grateful. I mean, I was counted out years ago, and I don't want to make this about myself, but I just want to thank the coaches and my teammates for 2 years. And they trusted on a kid from small town Hilliard, Florida, and man, all my life, people said I wasn't gonna make it, and they made this old guy have his dream, and man, I'm being able to tell my son stories for years, and my wife was able to experience it, man. It changed my life forever. I've been able to do things for my family at a younger age than I ever thought I would, and I'm just so grateful, and I'm honored to be here again for the second year. Not a lot of teams are able to do what we did, and I'm thankful for the Mizzou community for trusting and showing me love, and I have memories forever, a nickname I'm gonna hold forever. So I'm just very thankful.
To have your last moments with this team specifically, I mean, what is it like walking off the court for the last time with these guys?
It hurt, because it wasn't the way you wanted to walk off, but I held my head high. I tried to give as many daps as I could, encouragement as I could. I didn't want anybody's last moments of Jacob Cruz in a Mizzou uniform, being upset and sad. I wanted to show love and energy to the guys that have to return, and the guys that are carrying on their career as well. There's a lot more left in the tank for me, obviously, but we'll see where that goes. But I just wanted to show a lot of energy, and thanks to the Mizzou community. Don't want to be down. They showed all their love and energy all year for us, and I'm just very, very grateful again.
What was the difference maker tonight for Miami, do you feel like, in the end?
Oh man, they just stayed on that glass. They didn't go away. They didn't back down at all. They just kept with it, kept their foot on the gas, and every time we came back or showed some life and took the lead, they didn't stop. It's credit to their coach and staff and their players. It's March. Nobody wants to go home. At the end of the day, only one team would be happy at the end of this.
You all finished on a 4-game losing streak. What went wrong down the stretch? Why weren't you playing your best ball towards March?
I don't feel like anything went wrong. I think everybody's getting their giving us their best shot. At the end of the day, it is March. And every game counted. The SEC came down to a very, very tight knit. Like, we had a chance to be third. We're tied for it, and I think we came out 8th. So it just tells you how close and tough the SEC is. I mean, it's a grueling schedule. If you go back and look, the teams we lost to, they're a very tough team, very successful, and it's just a credit to them. They wanted it more at the end of the day. I say wanted it more, but they just played harder. And I think like today. Started off with a lot more energy in the beginning, and I think that hurt us. They came out, I think, 8 offensive rebounds, and that just hurt us.
Jacob, what exactly were they doing on defense? I know they threw a little bit at you at some point, forcing you into some 3-point shots. What do you think was the challenges with that?
Yeah, they just hopped in that zone and didn't want us to get to the rim. I mean, credit to them. I mean, they held that down for a while. The refs let us play for a little bit. And obviously, some of us were making our shots. It's unfortunate at the end of the day, but, we had the right guys taking them. And we hit some big shots. We got the lead. I'm not mad at that. They just, hit back, and nobody went out there trying to lose. All of us, obviously we feeling the pain and the emotions. Everybody went out there and gave their very best. The bench was energized. The crowd was energized. It's a good Miami team. I look forward to them going pretty far. Just credit to them.
Was that zone look something you guys were expecting? Were you ready for that?
We were ready for the zone, but I would say the amount of zone was a surprise. We knew they would throw a zone probably, but they remained in it because it was working, I assume. And but we definitely had a plan for the zone, but they played it a lot longer because I think it was working. They executed it. It was hard for us to get to the rim, and that's the last thing they want. I think they tried to take Mark out early because he's had 30-point games, so they tried to see what they could do with him and his energy and his scoring and his foul drawing, trying to keep their guys in and us from getting easy buckets in a sense. I mean, shooting 60-70% of the rim, so I mean, credit to them for running it and keeping with it.
Were there any adjustments in that moment that you thought you guys could have made that you didn't?
I mean, we we essentially got what we wanted. We just got to execute like the finish. We got to the rim. We got to the free throw line. We got guys taking the open threes. We just got to knock them down, execute them. I don't think we shot a very good percentage. And that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I feel like we did what we could, and I think Miami was just a better team tonight. Unfortunately, I think it started off again. I think that's where we went downhill, is they had a lot of quick offensive rebounds. Yep.
As a guy who, you're obviously a three-point threat, when you see them counter so many time after time as you're cutting into the lead, and then when it was tied, and then they would just keep on finding that clutch three, what does that do to you as a defense?
I'd say that for us, we knew we had to keep hitting back. Obviously we knew they weren't going to give up. I mean, they have CY. He was here, and I could tell you right now, I know how energized he is on the bench, and then how he is, and I know they weren't going to give up. Some of us know the other guys on the other team as well, and have relationships with them. Like, those are hard-nosed players. They're not giving up. And it's March. Nobody wants to go home, and at the end of the day, there's only going to be one team happy at the end of this tournament anyway. So nobody wanted to lose that game. Miami came out fighting. Credit to them. Credit to the coaching staff. They prepared very well.
Jake, I'm sorry if you already talked about this, but what was it like coming back in the room with the guys afterwards, and how are you processing this whole feeling?
I don't feel real. It doesn't feel like it's really over. I feel like I'm gonna have practice tomorrow morning. We're gonna go prep or something. It's crazy. It's surreal. But I'm very grateful to Mizzou, the community, the players, and the coaching staff. They changed my life forever. I'm able to tell my son stories for years. I'm able to, share these moments that I have with my wife as well. It's just crazy. I've been able to do something I never thought I'd be able to do at this age. I'm over taking care of my grandparents. I got a house in Florida, like stuff that a lot of people counted out on me, man. Like, if y'all haven't heard my story, y'all can go here. I don't like to use that as anything, but it's just, something to look into, because it's bigger than basketball for me. This did a lot for my life outside of basketball, as a husband, as a father, as a grandson. I'm able to take care of my grandparents, something I'm forever grateful for.
And the part where you're calling sort of surreal, I mean, the finality of it, that I imagine that will hit you here pretty soon. I mean, is that strange when you think about the guys?
Yeah, I hurt more for them than myself, because I trust in the Lord that He has my future set, and I'm just very grateful I was able to do what I could. I wear against all odds on my hand for a reason, because I had a lot of people count me out early. I went from JUCO to being in the big lights of Missouri, SEC. So I'm forever grateful. I hurt more for them because I watch each and every day of them coming in, blood, sweat, and tears, and long hours, and rehab and all that, injuries and good games, bad games. Just being with them, the brotherhood that we had, the culture that we had, and it's hard to sit there and watch them feel the way they did, and just forever grateful to have those relationships for life, to be able to share again with my family that I've grown here in Missouri. So it just doesn't feel like it's really real, but it sucks at the same time.
Jacob, when it gets to that under 8 timeout there, Mark hits that three and you guys take the lead, how close did it feel at that moment?
And he hit some big shots, man. Some big shots he hit. It we knew they weren't going to stop. The first thing we said was, we got to keep going. Like, it's not over. Like, it was the main thing we repeated. It's not over. It's not over. Obviously we're giving them that, we're giving them love, but we locked in, looked at each other and said, it's not over. Like, they're not about to stop. That does, like, it helps us. We have momentum, but they weren't gonna show that. Miami wasn't gonna stop and be like, oh no, they hit a three. They were gonna keep going, and they did. Credit to them and their coaching staff.
Does it hurt more that you guys did get so close, that you were so close to tracking them down there?
No loss feels good, that's for sure. It's worse when you ain't got another game, and obviously that's gonna sink in shortly. But I feel like I got practice tomorrow. It's hard to just sit there and say we're done. That's it. And I'm gonna try to hold my head up high. I'm gonna thank God for the life He's given me and my family. And I'm sitting here with cameras around me. And I remember when I was in the gym by myself, thinking like, where's my time going to be at? Like, when will I be able to, do what I feel like I can do, be a high major player? And I'm able to sit here and have this for the rest of my life, go on YouTube, hey son, this is me, like, you know, stuff like that, and just be able to look at that and just, you know, be grateful. I think I'm just gonna, for right now, you know, soak in the season. Obviously it hurts, but, you know, I don't want to look at all the bad things, the hurtful things. I want to look at all the great things, because there's a lot of people that wish they were in my foot, you know, my feet and everything like that. And just, you know, I'm gonna try to teach, you know, the next generation, show these guys, you know, learn from this pain right here. The returning guys, like, do it. Nobody thought we'd go back to that. You know, after December when we were in this arena last time, we were counted out. Everybody gave up. You know, we sat there, we locked back in, and we beat Florida, and people started hopping back on the train of Mizzou basketball, and, you know, we're able to say we went back to back. Not a lot of teams got to do this. A lot of teams' season ended, you know, a while back. So, forever grateful.
How do you balance that, the gratitude you feel for the journey you've had here and just the way this has ended, the finality of it?
And I went from being evicted, having to go to JUCO, sleep on a couch, sleep on the floor in JUCO, have my wife now, who's just a friend at the time, pay for my meals, my teammates pay for my meals so I could eat, lost my first car, you know, I had to have only JUCO clothes, like, I had to have other people help me get clothes, like, and, like, now I'm able to go and you know, have a nice car, have a nice house, get my wife what she wants, get her a nice ring, take her out to nice dinners, take care of my family back home, make sure my grandparents are straight, make sure my brother is good. You know, it's changed my life forever, and I'm forever grateful. You know, there's the things outside of basketball, you know, that I get to sit there. You know, I know I got a bed to sleep at night. I got nice clothes. You know, I got a car. Like, it's just all this stuff that, you know, I didn't have before. And I remember I was nights crying, praying, like, Lord, please help me, like, change this. And, you know, obviously it went like this first, and then it went like this. You know, and I'm still gonna go like this. You know, this loss hurts, but I'm only gonna grow from it, like I did every other time.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do your shoes reflect? You were going back over your story. How do your shoes reflect that story? I know you've got your different jerseys on your shoes.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just the stops. You know, a reminder. You know, where I started, and then obviously, you know, where I'm at now. And you know, the two main ones that you see are my wife and my kid. You know, they're with me everywhere I go. And you know, it's just part of the story. You know. And I like other people to see them. You know, they ask questions, they see them, and I love for them to know, like, you know, these are my stops, this is my story. And, you know, I just figured, you know, why not do something special, wearing on my shoes. You know, I saw Trent Burns had something cool, and I was like, hey, let me see if I can't, you know, do something. You know, I like getting a lot of custom stuff, jewelry and shoes and stuff, and I thought it'd be fun, you know, and motivation too.
Was this the first game you had those shoes?
No, I wore them a couple times during the season. Actually, it's funny, my first 20-point game in a Mizzou uniform, I believe, was in these shoes, and kind of stuck with them after that. I was like, oh wow, I should probably wear these more often. So yeah, you know, just love them. You know, tell a story, and obviously getting to see my baby boy and my beautiful wife all the time on the shoes is, you know, motivation for sure.
What will you remember most about this season?
Just relationships. You know, my son got older and got to grow up in the way these guys, you know, held him and talked to him and treated him. You know, that's something, you know, being outside of basketball as a father that I have for the rest of my life. You know, the ball will stop bouncing one day for me, but being a father is forever. You know, I'll forever be a father, and to watch my son's happiness, the pictures, the videos, and just being able to raise him around such good guys, you know, such, you know, when they have kids and stuff, you know, they'll be able to see, you know, how to do it and just be that type of role model for these guys too. You know, that's just bigger than basketball for me. You know, basketball wasn't the only thing I enjoyed here, you know. The relationships are forever, for a lifetime. I got relationships with the guys from last year's team that aren't no longer in this uniform. You know, they changed my life forever too. So, you know, it'll be the same thing with these guys.
The way you're talking almost sounds like this might be your last basketball game. Are you looking at playing professionally?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I got so much left in the tank. You know, I'm not gonna stop. I want to work out tonight. You know, I don't want the basketball to stop dribbling on. I don't have those big vacations or whatever. You know, this is my life. This is all I've ever known. I don't want to do anything else. I want to do this until I'm 60. You know, I love basketball. This is all I've ever known. It got me out of all of my situations when I was younger. You know, this was my out for everything, every struggle I went throughout life was basketball. So I'm definitely not done. We would definitely see Jacob Cruz keep playing basketball.
How did it feel to be on the court at the end of the game tonight?
Oh man, it was surreal. To say, you know, I'm back-to-back tournaments. And it's just, you know, with these guys to say, hey, this is what we did in June, and then we got all the way over here to March, and we did exactly what we were trying to get to. You know, maybe not to the extent. Obviously, we won the national championship, and it didn't work out that way. But you know, we got to March. You know, a lot of guys when they got to March, their season was over. They didn't get a bid, they didn't get a vote. You know, and their season was done, and we got to hear our name. And we have a special moment that we're going to forever tell our families, forever be out there, like our names will forever be in the history books for March Madness. You know, obviously not in the way we wanted it to be, but I know at the end of the day, after all the pain settles and everybody gets back, we're going to be grateful that we made it, because again, we're one of very few teams that season kept going.
You came to Mizzou after they had the winless SEC season. Do you feel you've left the Mizzou program in a better place than you found it?
I hope so. You know, I hope I had a great impact, because, you know, I tried to do that throughout my whole career. Obviously, I came from UNF, and then when that JUCO year that they had there was awful. And he looked at me and he was like, "Why do you want to come see me in the game?" I was like, "No, I know you as a person. I knew you as a coach. Like, that's all I had to hear. It was quick, boom, 10-minute phone call, boom. I didn't even see where I was going to play. I didn't even know the guys on the team, didn't know who's returning, who's going. So like, I just went there, and within a month or two, I was committed to UG Martin. Didn't even go down there on a visit yet. Knew the coach, knew the staff, or anything. And then same thing with Mizzou. You know how fast I committed. I just trusted, because when you know, you know. You know, I did that in my life with my relationship with my wife too. Like you just know when you're surrounded by good people. And again, my life got changed forever, relationships forever, be able to take care of my family. I'm in such a good spot. I'm just forever thankful, and I wouldn't have done it in any other jersey.
So Jacob, what has these last couple of years meant to you, and just playing with these guys?
Man, just I appreciate them accepting me for who I am. You know, from the highs to the lows. You know, to picking me up and holding me high when I'm up there. Just the moments will last a lifetime. You know, they'll flash through my head on the way back. I'll probably look through my phone and just look at all that, smiles, man. Obviously the tears suck, but I know each and every one of these guys are going to continue to play basketball, continue to be good men. They've instilled a lot of hope in me. When days look dark for me, when I had rough days, they pick me up. And, it's just so refreshing to know that these are the characters around me, and I know they're going to carry that on for the rest of their lives. And I hope I did something in the 2 years I was here for the staff and for the Mizzou fans and for these guys here to carry for a lifetime. At the end of the day, I just want to help everybody out, be a good vine. So, very grateful to the community again, very grateful to my teammates and the coaching staff for, accepting me for who I am. Thank you.
What did you think about the fan turnout tonight?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's always been unbelievable. I think they're a very underrated fan group. I think they don't get near as much credit as they should, and I hope they continue to pack Mizzou Arena and neutral sites like this. Forever grateful for them. Unfortunately we couldn't get the W for them, and I apologize for that on my end too. As a part of the team, and I know we're all hurting for you guys as well. But very grateful for you guys. You made it so much fun. You showed me what college basketball is. That was amazing to be able to come in there. I've been in an arena with 20 people, 0 people, and then 16,000 screaming Mizzou fans. The Antlers, the Cruz crew. Shout out to them and love them. They changed my life forever too. I get to grow up and tell that story. So grateful.
You just talked about the Cruz crew. Do you have sort of any, any words to them when looking back the last 2 years?
Oh man, I'm forever thankful for the T-shirts that people have now, the memories I'm able to tell my son, like, hey, your dad had a crew like this, and it's just awesome to have memories like that. but forever grateful. You know, how many people can say they had a fan group at a high major school in the SEC that made waves for T-shirts to come out like that. I never thought was gonna happen. Like, yeah, I got one, he's got one. Like, it's just it's unbelievable. They don't understand what they did for me. You know, it might look small, but you know, I'm forever grateful for them. You know, I probably owe them a dinner or something like that. You know, but forever, I saw a couple of them out there. You know, they were in the cruise crew and they got T-shirts. You know, I guess they are now. They got the T-shirts, so you know, they expanded it and something that I'm gonna be able to carry for a lifetime. Forever grateful for them. I apologize we didn't get the win because I would definitely love to see some more of those T-shirts out there and continue with our journey. But you know, hopefully they keep up with me. You know, because I'm gonna keep playing basketball and you know, hopefully we expand it some more.
When you look back at kind of